Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will show you how to craft this tower that can be used on a standalone basis as a wizard tower or as part of a castle network. This build will be really cheap. Indeed, it will be mainly composed of foam and cardboard. If you like this idea and if you want to see another video on how to make a castle based on the same idea, please let me know in the comments. The first thing you will need for this build will be some XPS foam. You will also need some wooden dowels, as well as some wooden coffee stirrers. Any type of wood will do the trick, but you will obtain the best result with some bamboo. Next, you will need some tacky glue. The next item is not mandatory, but it will help if you have access to a hot glue gun. Of course, you will need some paints. You will only need one shade of brown, one shade of grey and one shade of white for this build. And finally, you will need two kinds of cardboard. The first kind will be some round packaging. You can use the packaging of perfume or chips. And the second kind can be taken from your favorite cereal box, or you can also use the back of a calendar. For your ease, you will find some direct Amazon links to all the stuff I'm using in this video. The first step of this build is really super simple. You will simply take the round cardboard and you will cut it at the desired height. In my example, with one perfume package, I was able to do 2 towers. The second step is also super simple. However, it can be a bit long and a bit tedious. It simply consists to make 1,000 bricks of foam. In the description, you will find a link to a recent Black Magic Craft video entirely dedicated to the making of such foam bricks. Once you are ready to start, the next step is to already draw any doors and windows that you want to have in your towers. In addition to the foam bricks, and in order to give more relief to your tower, you can also pre-made some stoneworks. The best effects will be around the doors and the windows, but you will see that we will also use some at the basis and on the top of the tower. For the basis, I simply use some bigger foam bricks. To attach any stonework, you will simply use some tacky glue. This step is really not difficult. However, it will be really long to complete the full tower. Therefore, if you like this video so far, it's the perfect timing to put a like, a comment and subscribe to my channel. In less than 1 year, we are already more than 500 subs on this channel, and for this I really want to thank you for your support. Now, my next objective is to reach 1k sub before June 2025. If you can help me to reach this goal by sharing this video, I will be super grateful. While doing this, be extra careful to not put any brick or stonework on the doors and windows that you have drawn on your tower. Now that the basis is done, I will simply continue with some layers of small bricks. As from now, you will see that I'm using some baking sheet. It's simply to prevent the glue to attach to the protection I'm working on. You will need to be quite careful when you do the frame of the doors and the windows. In order to complete the ends of each lines, you can also prepare in advance a batch of half bricks. Indeed, you will see that the bricks are not perfectly aligned from line to line, but are shifted by half a brick. Again, this step is quite meticulous, but don't hesitate to take your time and do something else in the meantime. Indeed, in order to complete only one tower, it took me a good portion of an afternoon. But you will see, it's quite relaxing to do that. After a few lines, this should be your result. And here again, after additional lines. If you want, you can complete the full tower with some layer of bricks. That's what I did for the first tower. But for this one, I will stop before the top and I will do a wooden part. For the basis of the wooden part, I will once again use some big bricks. But in order to give more relief, I will also add a smaller bricks between each set of big bricks. For the wooden part, I will simply use some coffee stirrers. As I have some parts left, I will take the opportunity to do a balcony. I'm starting by doing a simple square shape and then I will cut it to match the form of the tower. Don't glue it yet to the tower, as it will be more easy to paint it on the side. Now it's time to do the roof. You will find a link to another video I made in order to craft yourself a foam circle cutter that will help you to get this cone shape. Once you are ready with your cone, it will be time to craft some tiles in order to cover it. In order to do that, it will be super simple. You will simply use some cereal packaging. For this build, you will really use a huge amount of tiles, so make sure to do a big batch of them. During the making of this video, you will see that I've experimented with different shape and size of tiles. They have all their own inconvenience and advantage, so I will let you choose which one is the best for you. Once you are ready with all your tiles, you will simply glue them with Tacky Glue. You will start with the bottom of the roof, and each layer of tiles will overlap the previous one. Once again, take your time because it's even more tedious than with the bricks. But the final result is really worth it. In order to help the tiles to match the round form of the cone, you can bend them a bit with your finger. At some time, I adapted my strategy and I put the glue directly on the tile rather than on the roof. Here you can see one of the other shape of tiles that I mentioned previously. And here, a third type of shape. The top of the cone can be covered with another cone of cardboard. And here you have the final result for the roof. And here the result before the paint job. For the roof and the first layer of paint, as it is mainly made of cardboard and that we don't care about the roof below, you can simply spray it black with a paint spray. Be careful, on foam it will dissolve, so don't use that on the layer of bricks. Once fully dry, you can paint it with another color of your choice. I don't know why, but most people are painting medieval tiles with some kind of blue. So in order to follow this trend, I'm using some petrol blue. If you know why people are always using blue, please let me know in the comments. But no matter what color you take, you will need to do 2 coats of it. Then, once fully dry, we'll work on the highlights. In order to do that, we'll use a dry brushing technique. For this technique, you will mix a bit of white with the basis color that you chose. Then you will apply some paint on your brush and you will remove the excess on a paper towel. And that's the name of the technique because your brush will be almost dry. And now the idea is to put as little pressure as possible on your brush in order to hit only the highlight of the roof and not the recess. Take your time and advance progressively. It's better to do several coats than to risk to put a big blob of paint on your roof. Keep in mind also that it will dry darker than what you see when you apply the paint. Here you can see the difference after applying 1 coat of dry brushing. For the next coat, we'll put even more white in the mix, and then we'll repeat the same process, except that we'll put even less pressure on the brush. Here again, you can see the difference after an additional coat. Here again, we will rinse and repeat by adding even more white in the mix. Again, the difference between the 2 coats. And here the final result once it's fully dry. For this technique, I will always advise to do at least 3 coats, in which you will add even more white in each coat, but you can go as high as 5 or 7 coats in order to have an even better effect. For the stonework, we'll use exactly the same technique, but we will replace the blue by some grey. After 2 coats of grey, this should be your result. As you can see here, a lot of the original colors of the foam is still appearing. We will change that by going in with a smaller brush. It does not need to be perfect, and the idea here is more to cover the big spots, so take your time and simply do as much as you can. While the stonework is drying, you can attack all the wooden parts. Again, we'll use the same dry brushing technique, but in this case, you will start with 2 coats of brown. Here, you can see that I'm painting the full dowel, but for this build specifically, we'll only use a few centimeters or a few inches. For this step, my advice is to do all the basis coats before applying the dry brushing technique. Like that, if you put some brown on the grey, you will be able to correct it without any issue. As I told you, for the roof I did only 3 coats of dry brushing, but for the stonework I did up to 5 coats, and you will see that the difference is quite impressive. And here you have the final result after the dry brushing of the stoneworks. While doing the dry brushing of the stone, you will see that I have put some grey on the brown. And that's why I have not yet done the dry brushing of the brown and only the basis coats, because that way it will be far more easy to correct. And here again you have the final result after 3 coats of dry brushing. And now I will cover all the windows with planks that I made out of coffee stirrers. And with some leftover woods, I also made some doors for future projects. For the upper door, I will simply use some planks that I have left. And here you have the result after all the wooden parts are attached. And now we'll finish the paint job with a wash. To prepare this shade, you will simply mix some water, some black paints and 1 drop of dish soap. This shade will help to tie all the colors together. Now you can apply it generously on the build, and if you put too much, you will simply wipe it with a paper towel. As mentioned previously, it will help to tie the colors together, but it will also help to add some shadows in the recesses. And again, don't hesitate to wipe the excess with a paper towel. Now, this build is almost ready, and you can live with this result, but stay with me if you want to see more techniques. The first technique will be to add some moss on the tower in order to give it a more abandoned and older look. To do that, you will simply mix a bit of water, a bit of tacky glue and a bit of static grass. And once your mix is ready, you will apply it in the recess of the tower. The beauty of this technique is also that it will help you to hide all the mistakes that you did during the creation of this tower. If you still have some spots where some painting is missing, don't hesitate to use this moss to cover it. And the final step of this build will be to create some ropes for the balcony. To do this, we'll simply use some hemp rope. Try to find the smallest that you can. The first step will be to cut a good portion of it. Try also to cut the end to have a perfect piece. Then we'll use a lighter to remove all the small pieces. In this step, be extra careful to not burn yourself. Then, before gluing anything, you will estimate the exact length that you will need. And then you can cut the excess. The next step will be to apply some tacky glue directly on the rope. And then, with your fingers, you will simply spread it on the rope. And finally, you can attach it to the post and to the wall. Now, you will only need to hold the ropes against the wall during a few seconds. And the final step will be to glue some moss in order to cover the ends of the ropes. And here is the final result of this build. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like my content, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe, to put a comment, to put a like, or to share it with a friend of you that might be interested. Thank you very much again, and see you next time!